you get the creepy, disturbing kind of vibe I got going on, man? The chillingness of those score tracks just scrape the surface of the chillingness of this movie. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I've seen it 3 times. 3 times. Saw sneak peek Wednesday, preview night Thursday, opening night Friday. I can't get enough of Jordan Peele's second outing, man. No sophomore slump to be had here. This movie is stellar. So I ain't pull up a chair, man. Take a seat. I don't want to waste no more time. We're getting ready to dive in spoiler-free into Us. I did my 2-minute review earlier today. If you haven't seen it, you can check that out right there. That'll give you the bullet points of the things that I love about this movie. But I am so excited to not have those chains, to break free from those and just be able to dive into this thing, because, oh man, there's so much to talk about with this movie. We will get into the score. But you have to start with the man, Jordan Peele. Wow, dude. I won't lie to you. Like, first go at this movie, right after it ends, you're gonna kind of have a what the, like, kind of a moment. And it took me a minute or two to kind of get my bearing. It kind of knocked me off center. And I couldn't have said right away if I thought it was better than Get Out. After seeing it now 3 times, I can definitively say I think this movie is better than Get Out in all sorts of ways. And they're very close to each other. I don't think it's like blowing it out of the water, but I do think that this is an even better outing from Mr. Peele. But the thing with this movie is that, the end of Get Out, by the time you get to the end of that movie, there's a lot of connective tissue for the audience to connect to with its characters. This movie's a little different. It works outside the norm, and this is kind of an abstract film. It's very progressive. It does a lot of things that you don't see typically in standard movies. And when you're looking at it in that way, by the time you get to the end, you don't quite connect with the characters in that really connective tissue way. And I think that'll leave some people a little off balance and not sure what to make of this movie. But I'm telling you, man, you let it sink in. You let it marinate. And you see this a couple times. You just continue to pick up on all these little things. And whether you like this movie or don't like this movie, you will walk out of there going, Mr. Jordan Peele, you, sir, are a master filmmaker. Technically, this movie is, it's so good. From a craftsmanship perspective, I mean, every frame, every camera decision, it's so deliberate and done with reasoning, and everything in the movie, man. I mean, there's obviously, with this film, duality is something that comes up a lot, and you just look around, man, it's everywhere, and it's things that are in the background or in a sequence, or things that he's doing with the camera. And it's if you're not familiar with Us, we have a family on vacation, and they run into another family who kind of is going the strangers on them with a home invasion, and it turns out to be like doppelgangers of themselves, and from there you get this crazy horror movie, and it is wild because it on the surface it functions so well as a horror film. And what Peele's able to do with the camera and the writing decisions, he's just able to produce this really, really authentic, terrifying movie. And then you scrape past the surface, man, and you're seeing all the other things that he's doing, from a story perspective and what he's really kind of getting at, whose story the movie really belongs to. It's just so fascinating. And like I said, the cinematography is unbelievable. One of the things that he delivers are both like creepily familiar shots that we've seen in horror films. Something is going on, you're looking one way and something happens, so you kind of duck down to look under something. When you come back, that thing is there. He does that, but does it in a way where it's like, okay, I know that the audience is going to know that this is going to happen, so let me add something to it. And you're like, oh man, that's cool. But something we've seen before. The same thing with the shot we see in the trailer of Liz Moss crawling toward the camera. We've seen that, but the way he utilizes it, and he pairs it with another, moving camera, really cool stuff, man, like the things that we've seen before. And then he does these uniquely inventive camera shots, man. At one point, Lupita Nyong'o's character, Addie, her doppelganger, or shadow, called Red in the movie, she's having a monologue in a classroom. There's a shot, I don't want to ruin it, man, but it's the way that he shoots her talking through the monologue. And it's where you see her face positioned in the screen where you are also able to see something else. And you just sit there and you're like, wow, I've never seen, how did he shoot that? That's wild. It captures your imagination. The same thing when we see it briefly in the trailer where Addie's face is kind of getting pressed against glass. When that scene comes around, there's another camera trick where all of a sudden, boom, you're getting more of that duality, man. He plays with the whole movie. But when you see the shot, you're just like, oh, wow, that was super creative. The way he hides some characters and the jump scares in the movie, I don't think are particularly like out of your skin jumpy. It's more high tension suspense thrillery type stuff. But there are a couple moments, man, where things come up that you're just not ready for. They surprise you even if they don't make you jump out of your skin. And when those moments happen, the way he manipulates the camera, tremendous. And then there's one other shot with Winston Duke when he's on a boat. And you just sit there and you're like, oh man, that's kind of cool. Like I've seen things like that before, but not done in this way. And then when paired with what he does afterwards, you just can't deny how he just every little piece is so deliberate and thought out. And that comes through in just the filmmaking in and of itself. Then talk about the way this man uses that score that we started this video with. The score is absolutely phenomenal. Scored by Michael Abels. Oh my gosh, dude. Like this thing just drives this movie every direction it needs to go. When you're supposed to be completely on the edge of your seat, like freaked out, it's going to take you to those crazy places. You get action-y sequences and the way the movie kind of flows. The camera flows with the music and then the score. And, then there are times that something really creepy is going on. You're expecting the creepy undertone to be there. And he comes back with something like lighter and like 50s fun kind of movie style, score tactics. And it just adds to the creepiness even that way. The way he's able to blend the score with the musical selections and soundtrack selections that Jordan Peele has in that unique music taste. I was reading an article where they kind of talked about how they collaborate so much on these movies. Abels also did Get Out, and just how they mesh in that way, and it produces terrifying tracks. And Peele uses them to his advantage the whole movie. Every time he wants to drive you somewhere, he lets that score take you there, along with these stunning visuals that are just creepy and terrifying, and just in watching the movie, even if you didn't have any speaking whatsoever, you could have no speaking in this movie, and this movie would have been terrifying. And that says a lot about the writing and the technical camera work and the score. But then you take all of that and you throw it into this blender with these, disturbing images and unbelievable performances that just drive you to the edge of your seat constantly through this movie. Things start going nutty about 30 minutes in. And from that point on, you are not very often like, if there's not too many moments where you're not squirming around or pushing up to the edge of your seat like, oh, what is going to happen? Even if you're not jumping out of it. And it just runs that way the whole movie. And it's paced well. And like I said, he knows how to cut that tension with comedy. He uses Winston Duke. He has several moments in the movie where like he just like blurts out something during a moment when you're like, you're not supposed to be talking right now. These kind of awkward real life when everything gets silent for a second. You do weird things. There's one shot particularly toward the end of the movie when Lupita Nyong'o's Addie is getting out of a car. And he does something, and you're just like, oh my gosh. And he just, we'll get into him too, but he just makes you buy that dad performance. And that comedy cuts that tension so you can kind of relax for a minute or two, and then right away you're right back to it. And just using everything that he's working with continually just gets you there. And then, like I said in my 2-minute review, man, there's a story here that's worth telling. That's just more than what he gives you on the horror perspective. The horror storyline, when you see where that through line is and where that peak is and what that overall resolution is, it's a really solid horror flick. It took me like 2 watches to get to that point. Because even I was, the way the story goes, it opens up a bunch of doors and sort of addresses some things, but that even opens up more doors where you're asking more questions, and you don't get all these straightforward answers. And it kind of throws you off for a minute. But by the time you get through the second and I finally saw where the real story was, I was like, oh no, he does everything technically sound for a movie, and then does all this other stuff on top where sometimes, the character development might not be super strong for someone that could have, like, you see opportunities like, oh man, you could have dove in here. That's not what the point of the movie is. He's trying to direct you somewhere else. He's using this horror movie as a Trojan horse to deliver this film that just speaks about the concept of us and duality in ways that I just think is fascinating, on top of, the horror elements to the movie. And like I said, I finally read an article where he kind of talked about the film a little bit, and he said he kind of birthed it from just the idea of how terrifying is it to think that you could be walking out in the street and you could bump into yourself. And when you apply that concept to what he does in the movie with that, you just have a terrifying horror movie. But break that concept down even further, and if you were to run into yourself, well, what are you running into? What is your other half? If we're us, who is them? And is it your repressed kind of bad-natured things, the things you don't want people to know about you? If all of that manifested itself in another form, how terrifying is that? And then just what it says, one of the taglines for this movie is "We are our own worst enemy," and obviously the movie is kind of giving you that in a visual perspective when you're watching this really terrifying stuff. And there is a Bible verse that's mentioned a lot right at the beginning, Jeremiah 11:11. Read that verse before you go see this movie. It just kind of clues you into the type of wild ride you're about to go on, and kind of plays into that version of that's what these people are. But what does that mean to us as individuals? You can play with the title, Us is US. And whereas Get Out, I think he was really focusing in on white supremacy and things of that nature. Here, he's just going after everybody, man. I mean, if you are an American, you're fair game in this movie. And, what he talks about in just America's duality. How we kind of show one thing, but we're kind of doing other stuff. And, and it works with everybody, man. From a personal level, from a country's level, from a societal level in general. And the movie plays with all those ideas. And it's really cool to watch him use this horror film to kind of talk about these things that are basic core ideas and functions and things that we think about. And when you're getting into that stuff, that's when this movie really starts to connect. And when you're picking up on that's what's going on, I think it's subtle enough, but in a way where we can make our own, theories. When you watch this movie and you see the shadow, and what the shadows are doing, you kind of look at it as, you can look at it from a societal level of like the oppressed and underprivileged and homeless, being kept down by middle class, upper class folks. And if you get to a breaking point, what does that lead to? So this movie's kind of abstract, where the core story is something more than what you're just watching. And if you're not picking up on what the service core story is, you're not going to quite connect with the movie all the way. But when you start to realize, hey, we don't have to answer all these questions because we're really talking about this over here. Or, oh man, because this is what I'm seeing here, what's really being played over here. You start to see this kind of more abstract form of the movie and you go, wow. From a technical standpoint, wow. From an artistic standpoint, wow. From delivering a legitimate horror movie that has a balance of like, it would be terrifying to run into yourself. And what does all that mean? What are the implications? And like I said, the way he plays with the story, there's a twist at the end of this movie. And then you just sit there and you go, oh man, you just nailed home the whole we are our own worst enemy concept in a way that I was never even thinking about. And it's wild when you finally, how the movie kind of strings you along and leaves you clues. It leaves you clues all the way up to this twist. And then you get hit with it and you're like, man, here's a guy whose master craftsmanship is at such a high level. Man, he's had me looking over here the whole time. Meanwhile, he's operating over here. I just thought the movie was brilliant in that sense. Now, all that being said, the director can only do so much. He's not on screen, even if his fingerprints are all over it. The cast, it's got to carry this thing. And this cast is absolutely phenomenal. I said it in my 2-minute review. I'm going to say it again. Lupita Nyong'o, we're going to be talking about her come Oscar time, man. This is one of the best performances of her career. She is mind-blowing. The way she plays being a mom, the way she plays being her shadow, and how completely different they look, they function, they act, but then also the similarities and the duality between the two of them. Fascinating to watch her perform, and this was just like a playground to watch Lupita Nyong'o go off in, and she has so much. You can tell she's having so much fun, and that just amplifies and delivers. Like I said, one of the best performances I think of her career to date. She is terrifying, and like I said, when you're watching something that's that scary, the more you watch it, the more you pick up on things. Watch her eyes. Listen to the way she speaks when she's the shadow. Oh my god, your skin will crawl. And then swing it back to like her regular character, Addie, and you're just like, you feel how scared she is, and when you understand certain elements of her story, the way she reacts to the kids and stuff, you can just totally buy into all that. And then the more you start to peel back and learn about the shadow story, you're also like, oh, but what's going on here? Man, this is fascinating. And all of this is coming from one person, and it literally feels like two different people the entire movie. I just think that it's such a testament to such a wonderful, unbelievable performance, once again, in horror movies, movies that don't always get looked at. This is a performance that is top of the charts. And like I said, the way she plays everything, to where there's some symbolism and how that plays into her story, or things, just the looks in her eyes and the way she just delivers the performance, it just is so authentic and real and just mind blowing. And her number two is just as good, man. Winston Duke, they obviously worked together on Black Panther, and both of them, they completely make you forget about the characters they had back then, man. Especially Winston Duke. I mean, here's this massive dude, man, M'Baku, Black Panther warrior soldier, and you forget all of that in this movie, and you just realize, like, yeah, okay, he's a big dude, but he's not a tough guy. He's quirky, he's nerdy, he doesn't know how to fight. He might look big, but he doesn't know how to use his size and his strength. So when things happen to him in the movie, and some of them kind of get prolonged, you look there and you go, it's just playing into the performance, and it totally matches. I believe that this guy would be struggling this bad, and he's not some superhuman, superhero. And then the dad jokes. Oh my goodness me. I mean, the reason he sells the performance as a dad so well, the dad jokes are so good, man. Every time you were in a situation where, like, you feel like you need something to cut the tension because you're about to break, Winston Duke delivers a funny dad joke. He says something during awkward silence when he shouldn't say anything. Like I said, there's that bit in the car with Lupita Nyong'o toward the end of the movie where you're just like, oh my god, that's such a dad move. And they all work. And they never feel forced, man. It's just the natural composition of the movie, and as it's flowing, it feels natural to the character. It feels natural in the moment, and it just allows you to crack a smile or chuckle and go, okay, release this for a minute. All right, now I'm ready to be scared again. And his performance is just so good, man. From the visceral end of his shadow, he doesn't speak. So the way he goes about things, so scary and so completely opposite of what you get from his real life character. It's absolutely phenomenal. I was blown away, and you really can see the depth now to the type of characters and the type of performances that this guy can do. He can be more than just a big tough guy, and he certainly proves that here. And the kids also are absolutely fantastic. Their roles smaller, less dialogue, but the way they pull off the performances. Shahadi, Wright, Joseph, awesome, man. Like, at the beginning of the movie, she's this, teenager who's all about driving and learning about the things that come next in life and all this excitement. And then, as she kind of goes to the beach and gets some, like, alone time, you kind of feel some teenage angst. And then when things start going haywire, she is probably the most scared person in the room at the beginning of the movie. And then she goes on this ride where, she kind of has to take off and starts running. And, you find out that she's a track star, which play into some of the jokes they have with the driving. But when she gets into her natural element, she gets a little bit more confident. And she kind of turns into a hero, man. You see her do things to help protect her family that you just admire. And there's a scene with her in the car it's one of the best scenes in the movie. The way she responds, the way she handles herself, you just so appreciate everything she's doing in that moment. And then when they go to the neighbor's house, she gets a moment that you're just like, wow, like, she kicked it in. And that little scared, terrified girl we saw earlier has come full circle, and she's something totally different. And then throw her shadow in, and when she's playing that, man, like, it just feels like the bad version of that character, man. The way she smiles and is just terrifying, and also loves to run. She likes to chase, kind of purposely throws her out there because she's in the thrill of the hunt. You pick up on all that stuff, and it's just, again, fascinating to watch these people all doing these kind of duality characters. And what's cool with her is, like, when you're in that moment and see her be a hero, Well, little brother's there and he sees it. He sees a few things in this movie. One with his mom, one with his sister. Type of things where you see can change your complexion of a character. And the thing that's so fantastic about Evan Alex's performance, both as his regular self and as his shadow, there's not a lot of speaking for him to do. But when he does speak, it's always very, very poignant. He hits the moments, the nail right on the head. But what he does just facially, man, everything you are feeling in this movie, you see Evan Alex emote through his face. His doppelganger is terrifying. He moves kind of like a spider. And he has this mask, and the duality between their characters and how they function is fascinating. And then just all the stuff he sees. He's one of the only characters that really sees almost everything that goes on. So by the time you get to the end of the movie, he's really the smartest character. And if you notice what he does at the end of the movie, it kind of puts you in a spot where it's like, he knows something. And what I think he might know is kind of, I think, clued into an action he does right at the end of the movie, where you see this action and you go, yeah, okay, that's telling me something that he figured out as we all started to figure things out. And I just thought he does all that without having to use dialogue, and it was just amazing to watch. And then you throw in these additional side characters, man. They're friends and their neighbors, which start with Liz Moss and Tim Heidecker. And they have small roles, but they are brilliantly funny, man. They're the type of characters who, you can tell they have money. The wife drinks a lot. And they're really funny and goofy. They help cut that tension early on in the movie. And then when we meet their doppels, terrifying, man. The look and the way they kind of change their looks, the way they kind of function, man. They have this unsettling delivery that I said this in my 2-minute review, feels Jokerish, man. Like the way that they kind of smile and enjoy and are playing a game. The way he moves when he's kind of chasing Winston Duke's character, and the way Liz Moss sits in front of a mirror and puts on makeup at one point. Chilling stuff. And it's that sequence in their house is one of the best sequences from the horror movie perspective, the whole film. And it has so much to do with their performance and what goes on in that house. And that also includes their 2 daughters, where, again, you kind of get this feeling where you see them at one point in the movie, and when they show up, you're just like, oh, if the little twins from The Shining grew up, that could be these 2. And they do a really good job of playing, these twins who are at that teenage age where they're like, I'm too cool for anything. And if it's not exactly what I want to do, I don't have time for it. They play that so well. And then when their doppels show up, man, they are like these possessed zombies. Like they like when you watch those zombie movies where the zombies move really fast, that's how they function, man. They're like on all fours and they're screaming and they're just always trying to bite you. Very zombie feel, and they're terrifying. And what you get in that whole sequence is just magnificent. And like I said, the doppelgangers in general, the shadows, wow, man. I mean, all of the performances are so strong because they all feel so different, man. You get 2 completely different performances from every actor in this movie. And just watching them play, they feel like different people. They act like different people. I mean, if somebody were to win an award, if you gave Lupita Nyong'o a Best Actress award, you'd have to give her 2. She does 2 roles in this movie. They all do 2 roles, and it's awesome. Now, if you're just gonna wrap this all up, there are just some scenes in the movie when you're watching, man. These are just some of my favorite, without spoiling anything. The opening scene sucks you into this movie in such a way where you are just you're hook, line, and sinker 2 minutes into this thing, and you're just like, okay, Jordan Peele, you got me. Where are you taking me? I'm going to go wherever you want to go. It is the perfect way to suck you into this world, into the vibe of this movie, and get you going. And then when the stuff that leads up to the home invasion, nice stuff, kind of settles it down a little bit before we pick it back up. But when the home invasion starts going on, oh man, the way it is when they're outside and how that plays with them, trying to get them to leave. And then when they start coming in, when they gather the family all on the couch and they kind of do the first story time, Red kind of gives this monologue that explains a bunch of things. And you start to understand how, the characters are tethered to each other and how she's a shadow. Fascinating stuff. And you're just sitting there and you're like, creeping out the whole time watching everybody else. And then at one point, you have Duke going up against Duke, and that whole sequence is brilliant. Jason and his shadowed masked counter Pluto have a moment in a closet that clues us into something about the characters that are very interesting, but also just like you don't want to be in your seat when you're inside this closed space with these 2 versions of the same kid. Unbelievable. And then Zora driving, when she finally gets to running away and getting back and getting in the car, that whole stretch, it's just the house invasion stuff so good. You could have had a whole movie like that. And no, it's just one portion. And we go to the neighbor's house, man. And that scene, like I said, is one of the best scenes in the entire film. The way that the, Doppels kind of attack people in that situation and the kills that happen to certain characters, all fantastic stuff from a creative and an execution standpoint. That lipstick scene with Liz Moss, it just stays with you, man. It is unnerving in this joyous way, where again the score kind of plays in, where it's a spot where you'd think it'd be super creepy, but they kind of play something a little bit lighter, and it just adds to the creepiness of what she's doing from a performance standpoint. And then outside you have Heidecker going up against Winston Duke. Oh man, that whole stretch is great. It's just entertaining to watch the two of them work, where it's not all horrifying, but that whole stretch is so entertaining. Then there's a car that is on fire. That scene, specifically with Jason and Pluto, again, just visually stunning to watch, unnerving to watch too. I just thought it was absolutely brilliant. And then the finale, when we get to the final finale, like I said, that has that one shot with Nyong'o that I thought was the most amazing shot I've seen in any movie at all, in the last year or so. Just beautiful, so inventive. And again, you get another one of these monologues that tells you more of the story, and even then, you haven't gotten everything. And then there's a dance battle. There's a dance battle in this movie that it's I think the best 2.5, 3 minute stretch of the film. From an editing perspective, from an acting perspective, choreography, score, everything is just merged together into this 2 minute stretch that just it encompasses and captures the entire essence of the film. It's so good. And then when we get to the very, very end, like I said, there's a twist ending in there that makes you go, oh, wow. What? This is what's going on? And again, it's going to just make you ask questions. The minute the movie is done, the credits stop rolling, you're just going to hear the place erupt. And some of it will be applause, but a lot of it will be people going, what was this? How did you see this? How did that happen? And that conversation then leads you into that deeper stuff that we kind of talked about. And like I said, this movie just start to finish, masterpiece, Mr. Jordan Peele. I don't know if everyone's going to appreciate this right now, but we're going to look back at this film in 10 years and go, wow, this was a turning point for somewhere in film, man. This thing is progressive and so creative and inventive and original. I just loved it. And like I said, there's so many tips of the cap to things that inspired Peele from a horror genre, and the way he uses things in camera shots, like I said, that we've seen before, but tweaks them. God, I could talk about this movie all day, and I didn't even talk about any serious details. We went for 30 minutes, man. This movie's so good. It felt good to get that all out. So yeah, thank you if you've stuck around for this entire review. Thank you for your patience and taking this ride with me, man. This is a movie you got a lot to dive into, and there's even more that we can talk about. But I think we covered everything without giving anything really away. Where to keep your eyes and what to look at. So I thank you for sticking around. I'm going to put chapter markers in there for sure. If you've bounced around and seen it, man, thank you for just picking up on any of the ideas or things I was talking about. I really dug this movie. I really enjoyed talking about this movie. I am done talking now. It is your turn, man. I want you to hit the comments down below. However much of this you saw, whatever you heard me talk about, whatever you took away from seeing the movie, I want to know what you're thinking, man. Let me know what you thought after you saw the movie. How many questions did you have? Did you like that there were so many questions? Did you wish it could have connected a little bit better? Or was this movie just operating on every point? Or was it something you saw, waited a day, waited another day, thought about it, saw it again? Did it get better? Leave me all that down below. If you didn't like the movie, I understand, man. I can understand there are things about this movie that aren't going to hit home the way some other movies will. Let me know what those are, man. The things that kind of irritated you that you didn't think worked. Leave that down below. As always, if you haven't seen the movie, as the old C-man just talking and talking and talking, has he enticed you? I really hope that I have, man. This movie is so good. Oh, man, I absolutely love this film. I hope I've enticed you to want to go check it out. And hopefully you'll go check it out multiple times. I tell you, they pick up, oh, man, some of the little things that I've picked up on, like, at this point, I'm just like, oh man, I need someone else to see this movie so I can talk with a person and pick up on the things that we're talking about. But there you go, man. Leave all that down below in the comments. As always, if you enjoyed this super lengthy video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new here and you want to subscribe and come hang out with the Cinema Sitdown Squad, go hit that button and then hit the little bell that follows so you get alerts every time I make a new video. The C-Man's Cinema Sitdown, a lengthy, non-spoiler talk, discussion about just a tremendously creative, fantastic movie from Mr. Jordan Peele, Us. It was a pleasure, man. Thank you for sticking around. I'm the C-Man, and I'm signing off. Peace! Well, I'll be. You guys are still here. You must be looking for some more content. Well, don't worry. C-Man's got you covered, man. You got videos like this guy and this guy. And if you haven't yet, and you want to come check out all the C-Man goodies, join the Cinema Sit-Down squad, man. Hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the little bell down below that, too, so you can get alerts every time I make new videos.